Titus, you got your start in WWE. This was after a football career. Was there a moment you knew, this is it, I'm going to be a wrestler, and what do you remember about that?
No, it definitely wasn't a moment. It was actually a happenstance. Dave Batista is one of my best friends, and he had talked to me several times about possibly looking into the business, but I was like, I want to coach, and I was actually on the path to going coach. And one day I was picking up a pair of shoes at Britton Plaza in South Tampa, and I had a taste for some jerk chicken. And right across the store, as I was pulling out of the lot, right across the street, I see this black and gold building, FCW, which is where Dave had been trying to get me to go and check out. And I picked up the phone. I said, Dave, is this the place that you've been trying to get me to come to? And he said, yeah. And I said, I think I'm going to poke my head in the back door and see what it's about. And he said, yeah, ask for Steve Kern or Dusty Rhodes. And I was like, Dusty Rhodes, like the American Dream Dusty Rhodes? And he was like, yeah, he helps with the character development and stuff like that at FCW. And so I walked in the back door, and the sign plain as day said FCW and WWE employees only, and I kind of disregarded that. And later that night, they had TV that night, and so Dusty and Steve were not there, so I ended up picking up my kids, coming back to the show, watched the show, and spoke with Steve and Dusty afterwards. And 15 minutes on the car ride home, John Laurinaitis gave me a call and said, hey, we want to give you a tryout, 3-day tryout. I tried out he asked me what kind of shape I was in. I was like, I've never wrestled a day in my life, but I worked out or whatever. And he said, well, can you be here tomorrow? And I was like, tomorrow? And
so this was like a 24-hour turnaround.
Yes, and literally the next day, I dropped my kids off to daycare, took them and went up. And it was the hardest workout I've ever done in my entire life. I mean, people talk about football or basketball or whatever, but wrestling was definitely hard. Learning how to take a bump, I was bruised with running the ropes and everything. And 2 weeks after I walked in that back door, I signed a WWE contract, and that was in 2009. And
so you watched wrestling a bit?
I watched it my entire young adult life, and middle and in college too.
Did you sort of go into it thinking, okay, I haven't done this before, but I've seen enough of this to know what's going on? I
definitely thought that it was something I could just kind of hop into. I thought, I'm pretty athletic. I can get into it. I'm strong. This and that. It doesn't matter how athletic you are or how strong you are. It really is about having all the components of learning how to tell stories. In football, we're telling stories, but we're part of a story. We're not telling that story, and the announcers and people are telling that story. It's the only sport that I can say that the performers are actually literally telling stories, and so that for me was a transition. Everybody can do a arm drag starting off. Everybody can do a body slam starting. It's a body slam from Jody and a body slam from me is the same move. It's
probably,
how he
probably
does
feel
it.
A little different though, I imagine,
no,
for the recipient.
We hope not. Yeah, we hope not.
Yeah.
But it looks different, and but it definitely should not feel different to our opponents. So understanding psychology is something that's a forever growing and learning process. Wrestling is one of those things where you can never say you know it all, because there's always just so much to learn. And the psychology of being a good guy, psychology of being a bad guy, psychology of ring awareness, where you need to be at, camera angles. We go to Northeast. If I'm a bad guy and I'm in the Northeast, I'm actually a good guy. They're going to cheer me like crazy. So you're just making that adjustment. Being a heel versus being a baby face in certain markets.
Okay, we got to get into some of this terminology in a bit.
Yeah.
Just want to remind folks, you're with Florida Matters Live and Local. We are talking about pro wrestling and its place in Tampa Bay. We're with WWE star Titus O'Neil, a.k.a. Thaddeus Bullard, and Jody Simon, who retired from professional wrestling in the late 1990s. He wrestled as Joe Malenko. If you're a wrestling fan, we'd love to hear from you as well. What got you into wrestling? What is it that you like about it? Is it the stories? Is it the athleticism? Give us a call. Let us know. We're at 813-755-6562. You can also email FloridaMatters@WUSF.org. Okay, Jody, so wrestling was in your family, right?
Yes.
Tell me a little bit about your dad. I heard he was known as quite the heel and your brother. So you were kind of born into this in some ways.
Yeah, we sort of had no choice. Although my dad really just created opportunities. He didn't push us. He just created opportunities, and it was us. It was up to us to take advantage of them and move forward in the business. I chose to do other things. I wrestled a little bit. My brother chose to be part of the business full out for the rest of his life. He's still working for AEW. Mm-hmm. So that was my path, and I was part of. He started in the 50s. He went through the 60s. He was Florida Championship Wrestling from Florida. Back, him and Eddie Graham had a 10-year run, which was one of the, arguably or inarguably one of the greatest runs of opposition that ever happened here in the States. Mm-hmm. And they drew amazing crowds and made money, and it was just an awesome time.
He was kind of a cultural phenomenon too, your dad. Like I was watching some old footage of a mattress commercial where he gets in the ring and literally wrestles a mattress.
Yeah, he did, and the mattress beat him. I was telling somebody the other day. I said, so can you imagine? I was at Jesuit High School. I'm a young kid at Jesuit High School, and my dad's commercial was him getting beat by a mattress, Badcock mattress. Yeah. I took a lot of ribbon for that one.
Let's just take a little bit of a listen to some archival sound from Titus O'Neil.
Wow, look at the power of Titus. Beautiful. Titus had the tights. Hey, man, a win is a win.
Here is your winner.
Make it a win.
All right, we're going to get into this in a moment, Titus, but we do have some callers lined up here. Let's go to the phones. We've got Brett, I think, on the line. Brett, you're on the air.
How we doing, guys?
Hey, what's going on,
Good.
man?
Very good. Okay, so what's your memory of wrestling? What is it that excites you about it?
Oh my goodness! So my dad watched it all as I was growing up. I hated it, to be honest with you, until I went to see a wrestling performance live. It was so life changing. All I can say is it's great for the youth if you can get young kid into it or get them to a performance. It's honestly life changing. It was one of the most positive, funny, awesome experiences. Watching you guys perform, the choreography, everything was just, I was laughing for over an hour and a half, 2 hours, just really thoroughly enjoying it. Hats off to you guys. You guys are true athletes and very talented.
Thank you.
Brett, thank you so much for that. Really appreciate your call there. Let's get another call in here if we could as well. We've got, I think, Ann on the line. Ann, you're on the air.
Hi, y'all. Thanks for bringing this great subject to the air.
For sure.
I'm a huge fan of wrestling. I grew up with two brothers and a dad who was a Marine Corps lieutenant, so we would watch it all the time back in the 70s. And when my brothers would get into it, he'd say, "You know what to do. Get on the floor and wrestle it out." And so my brothers would, one of them would be Dusty Rhodes and one of them would be Ric Flair, and they'd play the part and duke it out and wrestle it out. And fast forward, after the good old Robarts Arena days, it had been, 20 years since I watched wrestling. And one night we came home from being out and Raw was on, WWE and Raw was on. And I was like, oh, come on, we can't still be watching this stuff. Boy, I got hooked all over again. And it's great to see the women coming in and the fitness levels of these athletes. So keep it going, guys.
And thank you so much. Really appreciate that call as well. You can call in as well if you've got a story to share or a question for our two guests, 813-755-6562. Email us at FloridaMatters@WUSF.org. We're with Titus O'Neil, a.k.a. Thaddeus Bullitt, and Jody Simon, who wrestled as Joe Malenko on Florida Matters, live and local. So a couple of things there. Both of our callers mentioned the athleticism, and that's something you brought up, Titus. I mean, is that something that caught you a little bit by surprise when you went into it? Were you expecting the amount of kind of athleticism that you had to put into the role?
Oh, definitely. Instantly gain a greater appreciation for the art of wrestling. Yes, you can run and play football, you can play basketball, but it is something about having to do things inside of a 20-by-20 ring and be so precise at certain things, and just catching people, off the top rope, the timing, the timing of being in the right place at the right time, because everything is a split second away from, one of us not making it home safely to our family. So being able.
So you had that sort of notion of danger, even though this is scripted. You're like, okay, something could go wrong here if we don't get it right.
Yeah, I mean, I think even with Jody, I'm sure the locker room usually shared, the same sentiment. Hey, just get me home to my family. I just want to get home to my family. Because it literally, I mean, when you're taking objects into account, tables, ladders, chairs, some stuff is so unpredictable. You can land a person a certain way, and even though it's an accident, that one way or another could end up someone in the hospital. And so safety is definitely, and preserving your opponent's body and protecting your opponent's body is definitely at the top of the list. And in football or basketball or whatever, it's complete opposite. Like, you want to dismantle the person in front of you. So having the mindset, or having to make the mindset a shift from, you can't just go in and just pound people. You know what I mean? It's an art to what you do. And there's an extreme level of physicality, but that physicality has to translate into us at the end of the day. We're going to be sore. We're going to be hurt. But the main goal is to try to not injure someone. Yeah.
Jody, one of the listeners was talking about watching her brothers kind of wrestle it out. Is that what it was like for you? Did you have to sort of wrestle it out with your brothers at times?
My brother didn't want to wrestle it out with me.
Okay.
Now, I mean, when we were kids, sure. As we grew later on, we became a tag team in Japan. We stayed in Japan together as a tag team for quite a while. We did some tag team stuff around here in the States as well. I just want to point out that one of the things that the caller beforehand, I think, said was how much he enjoyed going back, even though he didn't think that he would enjoy it. And back in high school, I had a friend of mine who just believed that it was the worst thing in the world. Professional wrestling just didn't make sense to him. And so I coerced him one time. My dad took us both to the matches at Fort Homer Hessley Armory. And again, that place, no air conditioning, people smoked. It was brutal, but it was a magical place. And at the beginning, he's sitting there, sitting on his hands. By the end of the night, he's standing on his chair, screaming at the top of his lungs. And one of the most enjoyable parts for him was just watching the other fans. So I tell people all the time, I say, look, if you don't go to professional wrestling for any other reason, just go to watch the people, and you'll have a great time.
And if you go with no knowledge of who's a good guy, who's a bad guy,
you'll figure it out.
Everybody around you will let you know who's what and who you should cheer for and who you should boo right away.
We got an email from Mary. What was it really like in the Armory? And did Titus ever go to a match there? Did you see stuff at the Armory?
I never did. That would be all Jody to answer that question.
I mean, you said it was a magical kind of place.
It was a magical. So number one, everybody that you could ever imagine being part of professional wrestling, from Andre to to Dusty and on out, they all plied their trade at the Armory. It was not air conditioned. We always talked about Florida being such a hot territory. Well, it was a hot territory, and it was particularly hot in the Armory. But the place would be packed. I mean, they would turn away people. There'd be people outside just listening to see if they could hear the matches, and the place would just be slammed. I mean, and in the day, it was segregated. It was smoky. It was no AC, and yet nobody cared. By the time you got out of there, you were drenched, but nobody cared because the matches were just phenomenal.
When did wrestling become unsegregated? When did it integrate, I should say?
Oh, well, it wasn't the wrestling part. It was the crowds.
Right.
Probably, I don't remember the exact date, but probably the early 70s or so, maybe the late 60s. Yeah, when it changed.
Yeah.
But it was it was the place. They used to call it. People who talk about it call it Madison Square Garden of the South. Obviously, a much smaller venue, but it was that electric.
Yeah. You're with Florida Matters Live and Local. We're talking about pro wrestling and its roots and history in Tampa Bay. We're with Titus O'Neil, who real name is Thaddeus Bullard, but wrestles as Titus O'Neil, and with Jody Simon, who wrestled as Joe Malenko for WCW back in the day. You can give us a call. We're at 813-755-6562, or send us an email, FloridaMatters@WUSF.org. Email from Tyra. Hi, Matt, Thaddeus, and Joe. I grew up a wrestling fan. One of my favorites growing up was Rey Mysterio Jr., Shawn Michaels, and Bret Hart. I've always been told that wrestling is scripted. Is that true? Well, I think we've kind of answered that question, but let me sort of build on that if I could. I mean, what is that scripting process like? How does that actually work?
Well, you can't you can't strip every move. I like to tell people that the outcome is predetermined. We know who's going to win and lose. But you honestly can have a million ideas going out there, and the crowd could literally call for something completely different. And so that's the art of being a performer, knowing that we can't. Everybody's flavor of ice cream might be different, but at the end of the night, we want to make sure that everybody has some ice cream and that they have a sweet ending. And so, we might have had certain things planned. Me and Jody might have had certain things planned, but because the crowd is just so hot, we got to soak that in, and then we may not even have to do that much, in order to.
It might go in a totally different direction.
Yeah, it might go in a totally different direction. And also, too, sometimes, not too often, but sometimes, because of how great the match is going and how much of the crowd is into it, they may switch the finish during the match. It may be where Jody was supposed to beat me, and
so how does that work? Do they kind of give you some notes off stage or out of the ring, or
usually the referee talks to us in the ring. The referee is our kind of buffer between knowing when we're live on TV, when we're going into break, when we're coming out of break. Make sure we're always facing the hard cam as much as we possibly can, because even though it might be 40,000 people in, or 20,000 or 15,000 people in the arena, we're playing to the millions that are watching on television.
Mm-hmm. Got another email here, and this is from Adonis in Clearwater, who writes, as a teenager, I watched wrestling during the Gen X era. Now as an adult, it's almost becoming a weekly occurrence with my wife, who is by all means not a fan but loves the entertainment and can sometimes appreciate the athleticism of the wrestlers. And Adonis writes, always an American Nightmare fan. Thanks for that email, Adonis. You can send in your thoughts as well. We're at FloridaMatters at WUSF.org. I got a question too about the sort of, I guess, the athleticism, the risks too. I mean, is there thoughts about CTE or some of those other kind of, potential injuries that you could get as a wrestler? Was that a discussion that you would have?
Sure it is. I mean, you're throwing yourself around out there. People talk about learning how to take a bump. Mm-hmm. You can learn how to take a bump, but you're still taking a bump. Mm-hmm. And when you're born, you only have so many bumps in you. God says, okay, 2,000 bumps. You hit 2001, going to cause some issues for you. Yeah. So regardless of how well you take care of yourself or you take care of your opponent out there, things happen. Mm-hmm. I've had my best friends knock my teeth out. Mm-hmm. Unintentionally, I think.
How do you feel now? Like, what's the body situation like?
Beat up.
Yeah.
And I wasn't a full-time guy. I mean, I was a pharmacist as well and done a few other things, but it takes its toll. Mm-hmm. And especially if you're in there doing what you're supposed to do, which is giving the crowd what they need to see. A great match. Mm-hmm. And back to the scripted thing too, just so people understand, if you have two really good pros, there's not much. I mean, the scripting comes at a higher level, saying, okay, so this is a basic skeleton of what we want to see.
There's some improvisation going on.
But two good pros get in the ring without talking much at all, and they know what they're doing. They know how to do it, and they know how to bring a crowd to its feet when they're ready to let that crowd come to its feet. Mm-hmm. There's the psychology of professional wrestling is much more than even people talk about.
Mm-hmm. What about you? It's been a while since you were in the ring, right? So how are you sort of feeling physically?
I feel it. I definitely take care of myself, but I played football since I was 7 years old, played basketball, running in the streets as a kid, playing throw 'em up and blow 'em up, my body's been through a lot. But I think, also with wrestling alongside the bumps, the thing that really beats you up is your travel. Mm-hmm. Being on the road 4 or 5 days a week, in and out of airports, in and out of rental cars, in and out of different hotels, performing, working out, getting to a gym, doing media, all these things over years takes a toll on your body, mentally and physically. And so, even now today, we don't do many non-televised events anymore, just because it's
too tough.
The business model has just changed. Yeah.
Jody, you said you're a pharmacist.
Yeah.
Do people recognize you when they go to get their prescriptions filled?
In the past, they have, sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. Do you miss it?
Do I miss the recognition?
Yeah.
So I guess we don't look. Anybody in the sports industry has an ego. Mm-hmm. I mean, you have to at least at some level. You don't want to get it too crazy, but. When somebody says, "Hey, I remember you," it's a beautiful thing. I look forward to when people still come up to me to this day and talk about my dad and how they recollect the days when they used to go to see my dad with their grandfather and how important it was, how wonderful it was for them to remember those things. I had a guy come up to my car a few months back, he was almost crying. He was almost in tears.
Wow.
You know, just saying, "Oh my God," because my license plate says Malenko, of course.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And it sounds from the calls we've had that people are sort of have that kind of carrying on that family spirit of enjoying the wrestling they're seeing. We're going to have to leave it there, but we've been speaking with retired pro wrestler Jody Simon. In the ring, he was Joe Malenko. Jody, I should say, thank you so much.
Oh, you're welcome.
And WWE wrestler Titus O'Neil, a.k.a. Thaddeus Bullard. Titus, thank you.
Thank you.